What's up, everybody? Aloha Monday. Welcome to the village, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's been a while. Last week was a hectic week. I had my birthday on Monday, my anniversary on Friday, and I want to thank all of you that sent those wonderful, loving messages. We appreciate all of it. Patsy and I want to thank each and every one of you for your thoughts, your well wishes. It was just solid, man. It was a great week. Thursday, and I think some of you may have seen the video. My wife posted the video, but on Thursday, I was in the middle of a political forum at Gaylord's, and I'm standing inside, getting the hostess for the event was just starting to talk about the instructions of how the forum was going to be, and then the other hostess who was at the door came in and said, "Mel, you got to come outside. You got to come outside." And I said, "Wait till we get the instructions." She said, "No, come now." So I went out. When I went out to the front door, I saw my wife. I'm thinking, why is my wife here? I looked at her. I said, "Well, are you going to join us at the forum?" And she says, she points. She just points, points. And I look to my right, and there's my son from Oregon and his girlfriend. And they surprised me, man. Apparently, there was planning this thing. My son came to Kauai for a classmate's wedding, so they decided to just surprise. What's up, pops? My dad, all the way from Seattle. Thank you for joining us, Dad. Love you, man. And that just made my day. I mean, I couldn't help but get emotional. I had to wipe up my eyes before I went back into the forum. They probably thought I went run out and smoke a doobie. My eyes was all red, and well, it was just a wonderful, wonderful surprise. We got to spend some time with my son. He went home last night. Just got off the phone with him a little while ago. He had a great trip. They had a blast. Stayed out at the cottages in Waimea. That's where the wedding was out in Kikaha at the boathouse. So it was just a great week. I guess something that I really needed, man. You know, sometimes just get overwhelmed with things, and I tell you that week was just a great week. So thank you all again. Appreciate your patience. We only had one show last week, and I feel bad when we cannot put on a show because I know so many of you wait for it, and so we will continue to do our best as getting this show on. Yeah, Mila, it was an awesome surprise, man. It was just made my day. It recharged my batteries for sure. So Wednesday tonight we have Sarah Hofstadter. She's with Hale Hawaii. She's gonna be, they've been doing a lot of work on getting proper ventilation. What's up, Mike and Marsha? My sister and her husband, all the way from they're in Seattle now, but they live in Arizona, I believe. I think it was Arizona. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. So they have been working very hard along with other groups, and we'll talk about that tonight on getting proper ventilation in our schools for our kids. And I can tell you because I'm on a lot of their group chats and texts, and they just have been relentless in trying to get the DOE to make good on the promise that they would provide um, adequate ventilation for our kids in school and our teachers and all of the staff at our education facility. So um, I asked you to come on tonight and share with us what they've been doing and how we can all help. But it's a serious issue. Number one, we know pre-COVID, even before COVID, our classrooms were hot, uh, like uncomfortably hot. Oh, my niece Titi, what's up? Thanks for watching, guys. Awesome, man. It's a family affair tonight. Awesome, awesome. So we know how uncomfortable um, the classrooms were here in Hawaii, especially. Kauai, oh my gosh, it's like really bad. And then COVID hit, and everything the DOE promised and made all these commitments and the funding was made available that they were going to provide adequate ventilation before they got the kids back in school. We all know that didn't happen. So yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight. As soon as Sarah gets on, she should be on it at 7 o'clock. But how's them Seahawks? I know, Dad, you're on. How many Seahawks fans are there on the call right now? how many Seahawks fans and how many Bronco fans? What a game! I got to tell you, man. I watched it. It was a great game. It was so nice to see Geno Smith get his chance, and he did extremely well. Russell Wilson. I mean, if you look at his numbers, they did extremely. He did extremely well. But defense wins championships, guys. And the Seattle Seahawks, their defense was awesome. So I know many of you are not here to hear about football, but I just wanted to say congratulations to all the Seahawks fans. Pittsburgh Steelers, that's my team. That's good. I know TT. I know you don't want to hear this, but the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately, uh, not doing too well. Prayers go out to Dak Prescott because again, he's going to be out for another couple months. But the reality, TT. I know again you don't want to hear this, but he didn't play too good before his injury. So I don't know what's in store for the Dallas Cowboys. I think this definitely is not going to be their year. There's a lot of good teams out there, so it's going to be a good season. Really, really good season. I only see one Seahawk fan in the whole audience, and that's my pops. Anyone else? Anyone else? Got my water, the village. Wednesday night, we'll have Fern Holland. She's a candidate for Kauai County Council. There TT, I don't know if you guys can see the comments, but my niece just said that the Dallas Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. They are, but they're going to be watching from the stands. They will not be on the field. Sorry to say it, TT. Oh my gosh. But you know what? Hey, it's great to dream big. Dream big. Although Cooper Rush, I think he'll do okay, but the rest of that team, I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, so Wednesday we'll have Fern Holland, candidate for county council. I know a lot of you know her, and we'll hear from her as what her plans are and what she sees, what she thinks needs to be done to make Kauai a better place. So anyway, I got Sarah in the green room. I'm going to bring her in because I am excited to hear from Sarah tonight. Good evening, Sarah.
Aloha, you hear me okay?
Perfect, perfect.
Okay.
I always stress out because we've had some guests come on that the Wi-Fi wasn't that good, and I found out just a couple weeks ago we had Augie T on, and he was skipping and lagging, and then we had another council candidate came on, and she was skipping and lagging, and Felicia Cowden, and I asked her to try to, before we went live, I said try to use Chrome or Firefox because that's what's recommended by the software that I use. And once she went for changed over to Chrome, it was perfect. So you are loud and clear.
Great.
So I explained we have Sarah here. She's from Hale, Hawaii, and I explained Sarah. Now I'm going to turn it over to you to do a complete introduction. But you and a bunch of other folks and a couple of other groups have been working extremely hard on trying to get some adequate and proper ventilation in our schools for our kids and our staff. And it's been a while. You guys have been plugging away for quite a while. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can introduce yourself and share with us a little bit of what's happening in the in the everlasting quest for, I mean, ventilation for our kids. Hello.
Yeah, really. Okay, so my name is Sarah Hofstadter, and I live in Kihei on Maui. And I represent Hale Hawaii, which is the group behind these T-shirts. And we've been working together. We started out working mostly on COVID issues, but we've branched out to things like climate change and affordable housing. But one of the projects that we're working on now is a sort of joint venture with the group High COVID ACEs, which is a community public health education network. And I'm working specifically with Dana Moore from that group. And she couldn't be here tonight, but she and I are spearheading this effort to attack the issue of school ventilation on two fronts. One is through pressure brought to bear on the Board of Education and on the Department of Education, and the other is through trying to organize a grassroots effort to supply our public schools with homemade, Hawaii-built Corsi Rosenthal boxes, which are air purification devices that you can make out of a box fan and some filters. So I have a slideshow about what we've been doing. We're mostly based on Maui, but we have people working with us on Oahu, and we would love to have more involvement from people on Kauai and the Big Island. And although we're on Maui, we don't really have anybody on Lanai or Molokai either. So please get in touch with us. You could do that through the Hawaii page on Facebook, or leave a note in the comments on this feed, and I'll try to get back to you. I have a slideshow, and Mel, I don't really know how to share a screen from this software, so
you should have a share on the bottom. There should be, to go through the little icons, you should have a share screen button.
Nope. Oh, yes, it just wasn't active. Okay. So let me get the right window up, and my apologies, but
hey, we're live. We are live and in color.
it's not giving me the option to share my PowerPoint, which is, there we go. Can you see that now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, when you open up your the share screen, you should be sharing your tab.
Yeah.
Is there an option to share a tab? So you got to open up your PowerPoint in a new tab.
Oh, okay. Let me, because I have it open actually in PowerPoint. But let me try. I think I know how to do this. Okay. How's that?
Not yet.
Oh, darn it. All right. Let me see if I can open this file from Chrome. I'm really sorry, folks.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah. Let's see.
You should be able to share your screen, and once your screen is shared, then you can move to whatever program you want to open. And I won't push it up until the right screen is on.
Okay.
Thanks for the patience, folks. I tell you, it'll be worth it. I promise you.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, now go to your PowerPoint.
Okay, there we go. Can you see it now?
Well, no, I don't see the PowerPoint. I see your screen though, with your streaming software.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm used to doing this on
Zoom.
Zoom. I know how to do it on Zoom.
It should work the same. Yeah. And we used to use Zoom, and I use Restream so we can get it across on all the platforms at the same time. So we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Which is amazing. Okay. Let's see. That come across?
Nope.
No.
Well, we may have to go manual. I wish I knew jokes. We should have had Augie T on tonight and feed his jokes in.
Well, let me see if I can open this PowerPoint in a Chrome tab somehow. And
Hang tight, folks. Hang tight, folks. We're just trying to get the PowerPoint on. And we will get it going.
All right. If I export the PowerPoint to a PDF, I can do it that way, but it's going to take a minute.
The villagers are saying, "No worries, we'll wait." We got a patient group of people. I got to tell you, very patient group of people.
I appreciate everyone's patience. This is not the software that I'm used to using, so that's why. Now what I need to do is go into my files and pull up the PPT and with.
Well, while we're waiting, if any of you in the village have any experiences with ventilation issues in your schools, please post it in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. You know, I know for a fact because I hear from a lot of parents that run CO2 meters and are finding that the ventilation is not appropriate, it is not adequate, and that's what this Hale Hawaii and the other groups are working on with the DOE and the BOE and everyone else to really force their hand and go ahead and get these things done. I don't understand. I see Judy Vegas on. I mean, it always seems like our kids get left behind. I know Judy has an issue with the school buses. Big problem right now. With our kids in schools that are forced to have to walk. And I know some of the old people will say, yeah, we had to walk to school, but it's a different time now, and we have, I know this, we're short staffed. Everybody's short staffed. Everyone's short staffed. And, but that's not the kid's problem. It's not the parents' problem. In some cases, the grandparents who take care of the kids. And it's crazy to me. How we cannot use some of that relief money to either contract out private buses or even our county buses to get them operating on an emergency schedule and get just to go pick up these kids and take them to school. So it's these types of things that every time I hear the horror stories, I wonder where on the list of priorities do our kids lie. I know for Kapaa Middle School, it's not very safe to have the kids walk down that crazy road down to the little roundabout area and have to cross the roundabout to get to the bus hub where they can be picked up by their parents or grandparents. And these things shouldn't. The kids should not be. It's not their fault. So I'm trying to hear.
How about if I email you the PowerPoint and you can put it up on your screen? Because that's about the only thing I can
go ahead. Send it to melraposo@gmail.com.
Okie doke. I will do that.
And I will get it up and make it happen. Again, thanks for your patience, folks. Everybody uses Zoom. I got to be the oddball and go ahead and restream. But we'll get this thing going. I promise you guys. We'll get some good information out for you guys tonight. And I do want to hear from all of you and your issues and concerns. And again,
I'm going to send it to you as a PDF because I think that's easier to handle.
Okay.
Okay, and I am sending it now.
And the timing right now, people, because we're a couple of months away from the general election, and this is where we can make a difference, right? I mean, this is where we gotta take it upon ourselves and contact our legislators and ask them why aren't these things being done?
Yeah, especially with the amount of federal money that was given to the states and school districts to specifically for the purpose of upgrading school ventilation infrastructure. And it's not clear to me what they're spending that money on and whether they're spending it on the right things. And the other thing is that, for getting better ventilation and better air quality in our classrooms, it's not just about keep preventing kids from catching COVID or any other aerosolized virus-borne airborne disease like the flu or potentially, if we really get unlucky, monkeypox. But it's also about the fact that high CO2 levels in the air make it hard for people to concentrate. Excessive heat makes it hard to concentrate. So it's not just that our students would be better protected from disease, but also it would enhance their learning. So, there's an element of the parent population in Hawaii that was very upset with the mask requirements. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that the Board of Education and the Department of Education backed down over the mask requirement. But it's hard for me to see why anybody would object to having better air quality in our classrooms. That's really a no-brainer. And there's my PowerPoint. Thank you so much, Mel. I'm really sorry about my technical lack of technical ability. So, okay, this is my presentation, which Mel is kindly going to run through for me. I've already been through a little bit about why school ventilation is important. As I just said, it's not just that it significantly reduces the risk of catching viruses from the air. It's also important generally for the learning environment, to enhance the learning environment. Mel, you can go to the next slide. So this is advice from the CDC, I believe, that one of the most effective ways to curb disease transmission indoors is to swap out most of the air in a room so that you're blowing the germ-laden air out of the room and replacing it with fresh air, or you're running the air in the room continuously through a high efficiency filter that's capable of trapping virus particles, and you're cleaning it that way. That benefits that accomplishes the goal of reducing the disease transmission. It doesn't deal with the problem of too much CO2, and it doesn't deal with the problem of excessive heat to filter it. But ventilation does all of those. Bringing fresh air into the room does all of those things. And according to some research that was cited by the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, exchanging the air 5 times an hour cuts the risk of coronavirus transmission in half. That's probably a ballpark, but it is a significant effect. Okay, next slide. It was only in March that the federal government started to think about using ventilation as a tool to reduce the spread of COVID-19. But they do have a voluntary initiative for that. And there's also the ARPA, the original ARPA Act gave schools $122 billion for ventilation inspection and upgrades. And there's another $350 billion that went to state and local governments for various kinds of pandemic recovery efforts, and that can be used for ventilation and filtration. So we have not gotten, as far as I can see, a satisfactory report from the Board of Education or from the Department of Education facilities people about exactly how they've spent this money and what their priorities have been. So you can show the next slide. And that's one of our goals, is to get them to really come clean on that. The Village's own Kauai Pandemic Working Group put out a report last spring saying that if there's a pandemic, it is a key task of state leadership to try to keep the schools open. And we certainly agree with that. But the schools are not going to stay open if the teachers are constantly going out sick, the students are constantly going out sick, students are having to stay home, either because they have symptoms or a family member has symptoms. It's not going to work, especially now that we no longer have a mask requirement, to try to make our schools be able to reliably deliver a high quality education and give the students the maximum chance of success if we don't take steps to clean the air so that the students are not getting sick. Okay, next slide. This is another slide on the Kauai Pandemic Working Group report about the importance of ventilation in schools and the importance of monitoring and testing. Once they've installed whatever equipment they're going to use or taken whatever measures they're going to take, such as opening windows, it's important to follow through and make sure that it's working and that the air in the room is actually being turned over 5 to 6 times an hour. And you can use CO2 monitoring as a rough measure of that. I attended the Board of Education Finance and Infrastructure Committee meeting on September 1st, and they, because we had pushed the committee members to ask about this, they asked the Assistant Superintendent for Facilities, Rondi Tanaka, they asked him about this, and he basically said they had distributed a bunch of equipment to the schools and everything in that area was going fine. I mean, that was the gist of what he said. There was nothing about any follow-up. I know, and it was publicly reported, that the Department of Education did some CO2 testing in classrooms and found that there were quite a few that were in extremely bad shape in terms of ventilation and air quality. And they said they're addressing that. But when he was asked about the schools on the neighbor islands, basically he said, oh, they're all old, so they have openable windows and it's not a problem. Well, that's not an adequate response. That's not an adequate response. We don't know if those windows actually are open. We don't know if the flow of air through those windows is actually adequate to provide fresh air to exchange the air 5 or 6 times an hour. So without testing and follow-up, the fact that equipment has been distributed is really meaningless. Okay, next slide. So DOH and DOE have put out some guidance on ventilation, and it's not bad. I mean, this is the DOH guidance over here, and I know you can't see it, but it's available on the web. I've got the URL up there. It's on the Department of Health website, and it's basically one page that just recommends taking things outside, using fans, and adjusting your HVAC systems to bring in outside air and so on. But it doesn't give very many specifics, and it's not anything that the Department of Education is actually enforcing. This is the Department of Health's recommendations. If you go over to the DOE guidance, they've got some much more specific figures, and I just put the cover of their little booklet on the slide. But on pages 5 through 7 of the booklet, they have some much more specific guidance for how to get adequate ventilation in a classroom based on the size of the classroom and the number of students and so on. But no one from the Department of Education's facilities office is going into every classroom in every school to check, nor have they trained principals or complex area superintendents or any other staff that's actually on the ground at the schools. They haven't trained anybody to do that, to go in and conduct assessments of classroom ventilation and figure out how to remediate them. So basically, their guidance is okay, but there's nothing being done about it. And the fact that it's there on paper is essentially meaningless. So having figured all of this out, you can go to the next slide. We in Hale, Hawaii got together with some other folks that we've worked with throughout the pandemic and started taking steps to try to pressure the Board of Education to be more proactive about this and ride herd on the Department of Education with a little bit more intensity to make sure they get this done and make it a priority. So we've sent the board an open letter, which we collected signatures on. We got about 100 signatures, I think. We have testified at Board of Education meetings and Board of Education committee meetings. We developed a flyer, which I'll show you in a bit, that anyone can download and distribute to teachers, parents, school staff, that rather than being, several pages of material buried on a website, it's a clear, easy to read, user-friendly set of recommendations for what to do to make your classroom safer. We've also got a compilation of that. If you want to take a look at that flyer, it's on the web at tinyurl.com/ventilation flyer, and everyone is welcome to download it, print it out, share it by email, share it on Facebook, however you want to get it out there. We're all volunteers. We don't have a budget. So we have to rely on the generosity of other people to help us get this flyer out there into the classrooms where it can make a difference. So we definitely encourage people to go and download the flyer. And we've also got a compilation of various resources on ventilation and indoor air quality, which is the URL for that is actually on the flyer, but it's also here. It's tinyurl.com/classroomair. I'm a big fan of tinyurl.com. It makes life so much simpler. We've also, another step that we've taken just recently is that we have drafted a sort of canned response that people can make. The Board of Education is currently doing a strategic planning survey. If you go to the Board of Education website, it's right there as like the first thing on their homepage, the link to the survey. It's an easy survey to take. It asks some good questions, and people can respond. But at the very end, there's a space where you can put in whatever other comments you may have. And we have drafted a blurb on ventilation that people can plug in there. And that's at tinyurl.com Q24 answer, because the question in the survey is question number 24. So if you want to use our answer when you respond to that survey, if you want to talk about ventilation, you can use our answer. You can adapt it to express your own thoughts, but it's there if you just want to plug it in. We're also doing a survey of our own. Mel, if you could scroll down a bit, which is at tinyurl.com ventilation survey. It's not quite ready for prime time, so wait a day or two until you go in there to answer it. I just put it together today, so, and it needs some tweaking. But what we're trying to do, because the Board of Education is being told by the department that this whole problem is taken care of, that the schools have all the resources they need to address this, and that it's not a problem. Meanwhile, we are hearing reports from people in the field that it's a nightmare out there. There are classrooms where the windows are never opened. There are classrooms where the fans are blowing air from one student to another, which is the exactly wrong way to do it. And no one is really taking responsibility for making sure that the actual conditions in classrooms comply with the recommendations and guidance that the board and the Department of Education and the Department of Health have put out, which I referenced on an earlier slide. There's a disconnect between what's on paper and what's reality, which unfortunately is all too common in Hawaii. So what we're trying to do is collect the information from parents, staff, teachers, students, anyone who cares to respond to our survey, who has something to contribute, to collect information about what's really happening on the ground. We're not taking names. We're asking for a classroom name, not a classroom name, but a school name. But that's it. You just put the name of the school. And if you have contact with more than one classroom, you can fill out the survey multiple times, once for each classroom, like substitute teachers or parents who have kids in two different classes might want to fill the survey out more than once. So we'll be posting the link to that survey on the Hala Hawaii Facebook page and in the Hawaii for a Safe Return to Schools Facebook group when we feel like it's ready to go. So I definitely encourage people to keep an eye out for that and fill out our survey so that we can really demonstrate to the board, and if necessary to the press, that what the Department of Education is telling the board is simply not true. Okay, so next slide. This is our flyer. It's a little hard to see on a landscape format screen, but the front page is on the left and the back page is on the right. And the front page has some general principles and also shows all the endorsements that we got for the guidance that's on the flyer, which is down at the bottom, Mel. We got the Hawaii Nurses Association. We got the Pacific, I can't remember, the Pacific Alliance Against COVID, and a number of individual health providers and community organizations have endorsed the guidance that's on our flyer. So this is not something that we made up out of our head. that's the front of the flyer. And then the specific guidance on particular aspects of what's risky is on the left and what would be safer is on the right. And basically some very easy steps. Open the windows, open the doors, make sure the fans are blowing air away from the students. And if you have an air conditioner, make sure that it's not just recirculating the air. It should be bringing in air from the outside. And hopefully you have a fan somewhere else that's exhausting the air so that you've got a circulation happening. Because we want to replace the air in an occupied room 6 times an hour. And in order to determine whether that's happening, one tool that has been made available to schools but is not necessarily being used is a carbon dioxide monitor, a CO2 monitor. I have heard a story about one principal who put CO2 monitors in teachers' classrooms when the teachers were reluctant to open the windows, and showed the teachers how much CO2 was building up in their classrooms with the windows closed, and what a difference it made to open those windows. And bear in mind that I know we have a heat problem in Hawaii classrooms. There's a lot of classrooms out there that do not have adequate air conditioning or do not have any air conditioning. And that is also a problem that the Department of Education has the kuleana to address, and I think is to some extent addressing. But the problem is that adding an air conditioner and then closing all the windows and doors because you got to keep the air conditioning in just makes the situation worse. So adding an air conditioner by itself may cool the room, which of course is a good thing. But if the consequence of that is that the windows and doors are closed all the time, it's not going to do anything about the COVID problem, or for that matter, about the CO2 problem. So we need to make sure, this is why expert guidance and not just people's first instinct is really important, because the placement of the air conditioner, the way the air conditioner is used, the placement of the fans, all of this is important. You have to have the right kind of filters. If you're using an air filtering, you have to have filters that are capable of trapping aerosolized virus particles, and not all filters are equipped to do that. So, next slide. By the way, we do mention masks on the slide because we still believe that masks are especially high quality masks like N95s, KN95s, KF94s, not the little cloth things. Those don't do anything, not with Omicron. But masks are still your child's best protection. And for those of you who are on the fence, if you can persuade your kid to wear a mask in school and not to take it off, except when they need to eat or drink, and to try to do that outdoors if possible, that's your best protection. But we recognize that there are parents who just will not ask their kids to wear masks, and there are kids who just won't wear them. So the ventilation is really, really important. And the fewer kids who are masked in the class, the more important it is to have good ventilation. And Lynn is pointing out in the comments, when we have air conditioning upgrades, they should be planned to include the kind of filters that are needed and the kind of air exchange that is needed to reduce disease transmission besides cooling the air. We have no confidence that the Department of Education facilities people are including that in their plans for upgrading the air conditioning in schools. So this slide is discussing what our future plans are, what we're working on. So we're going to collect the responses to the survey when it goes live and publicize the results of that. And we have this amazing collaboration with some folks at the Honolulu Community College who are helping us to design what's called a Corsi Rosenthal box that's powered with a rechargeable battery pack, so that even classrooms that don't have adequate electrical outlets and or electrical supply can still use them. And I said I was going to discuss Corsi Rosenthal boxes. This is a device that was developed by a couple of guys, I think at UC Davis. And basically what you do is you take the kind of box fan that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's or your local hardware store, and you put high quality filters. I think they're called MERV 13, I think. They have to be of the grade that will trap aerosol virus, will trap very small particles. And basically you can just tape the filters onto the fan, and that will run the air through those filters, because you have one coming in and one going out. So the air is running through two filters, and it basically can take the virus particles out of the air. So even if your classroom doesn't have openable windows, and even if it doesn't have adequate ventilation through air conditioner, fans, or whatever, you can clean the air in that classroom. We're working on the design of the box and the assembly instructions. Then we're going to have to raise funds to get the materials, or find people who are willing to donate the materials, because we're going to need the fans, the filters, the battery packs, and so on. And then we need to recruit assembly teams to put the Corsi Rosenthal boxes together and deliver them to the schools. And what we're planning to do, and this is a brand new idea, is to have some holiday themed events. Our goal, we call ourselves Operation Grateful, because the idea is to get at least one Corsi Rosenthal box into every classroom in the state of Hawaii by Thanksgiving. That's a very ambitious goal, but we're really going to try to do it. We need people. We need boots on the ground for this. And we're going to be trying to energize people about it by having some holiday themed events and around Halloween and Thanksgiving. And if we haven't made our goal, then also perhaps the winter holidays. I think there's one more slide, which is how you can help. And I've mentioned most of these things before, but you can share our flyer, print it out, or just download it and email it to people. Get it out there, because it's a really useful basic tool to tell people why is ventilation important, and how do you just take some basic steps to increase the ventilation in classrooms. You can use our canned answer to question 24 on the Board of Education survey. There's a Board of Education meeting on September 15th. That's Thursday of this week at 1:30. If you're going to register to give testimony, or if you're going to submit written testimony, you're going to be wanting to address it to agenda item Roman numeral 5A2, which is the report from the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. And I certainly encourage anyone who has boots on the ground report of how bad things are in their child's classroom or their classroom if you're a teacher, to just jot it down and email it to the board as testimony. The testimony instructions are right there on the Board of Education's website. And if you can't be available to give live testimony, they do, I think, read the written testimony. You have to get it in 49 hours ahead of time because they have to post it 48 hours before the meeting. So you need to get it in by tomorrow at 12:30. But if you have a chance to just jot down a quick email saying, I teach at a Hawaii public school and there are no fans in my classroom and my windows are glued shut. If you're involved in the parent-teacher organizations at your school, if you're a classroom mom, if you know about the conditions in your child's classroom, by all means, tell the board, because they're being given a wildly exaggerated account of how things are going out there, how well things are going. So, and then when we get the survey ready for prime time, when you start seeing us sharing it on social media, please respond to it. And finally, we'd love to have more people on the organizing team for Operation Grateful. We have an ongoing messenger thread, which is how we communicate on a day-to-day basis. And then we have a whole group meeting on Zoom on Saturdays at 5 p.m. You can email or message Hale Hawaii. Let us know that you want to be on this part of this organizing team, and we'll be happy to have you. Dana is also, Dana Moore, who I'm working with, who is the sort of co-leader of this joint effort. She couldn't be here tonight, but she's going to be doing a group chat on Clubhouse tomorrow. So if you're interested in chatting with other people about how things are going on the ventilation front in Hawaii Public Schools, you can join that chat on Clubhouse tomorrow. And I don't have the link handy, but if you go to I will make sure that it's posted on the Hale Hawaii Facebook page, which is a public page, so you don't have to have a Facebook account to see it. So I will make sure that goes up right after this meeting, right after the show. So that's the end of the slideshow. So you can unshare. And I'd love to take questions, or Mel, if you have any comments you want to make.
Well, first of all, thank you for all of your hard work and all your group and Dana's group. And I see the chats going back and forth. It's just some amazing work. I guess my only question is, why in the world does the DOE, I hate to use the word misinform, but that's kind of what it is. Why aren't we dealing with this issue head on? We had the funding. We should still have the funding. Why? I mean, you guys have been going to these meetings. I mean, I gotta believe that these board members have family or friends that have kids in school or are teachers. How can this just continue to be dragged on and surveys, and I just don't get it.
I think there are a number of factors at work here. One is general institutional inertia. There are problems that the Hawaii schools have been facing and trying to fix for decades that haven't gotten fixed. And, there's always a reason. There isn't the money, or we don't have the staff. And, it is hard these days. I mean, if anybody who has tried to get a contractor recently to do work around your house or any kind of services, all of the businesses in Hawaii are facing labor shortages because so many people are out with COVID. So everything is backlogged, everything is slowed down, and I think that affects to some extent the ability of the Department of Education to get things done quickly, because to the extent that they have to contract stuff out, it's hard to find contractors and they have to go through an elaborate procurement process and so on. But that's really there. The other problem is that they're not making it a priority. They have other priorities. I'm not quite sure what those priorities are. But I know that there are schools that have serious infrastructure problems, roofs that are leaking and so on. And obviously those have to get fixed. But there doesn't seem to be a recognition of the importance of this issue and how much of a priority they really need to make it, because it's really the foundation for everything else. I mean, the board is concerned, justifiably, about improving student outcomes, making sure that we're really teaching the children what they need to learn in order to become functioning members of society and in order to excite their intellectual curiosity. And those are all legitimate concerns. But if they're out of school half the time because they keep getting sick, or members of their family keep getting sick, if they're traumatized because they've lost their grandparents to COVID because they brought it home from school, if the teachers are out sick all the time, we're not going to be, this is fundamental level. You build your quality education on top of the school infrastructure. And the infrastructure right now, the biggest problem with the infrastructure is ventilation. And they have to address that first before they can start talking about, what do we need? How do we need to revise our curriculum? And what should we be doing to recruit better teachers and give our teachers more support? Those are all important things. We're not denying that. But none of that's going to happen if the precondition of having teachers and students who are healthy and able to show up at school every day on a regular basis, if you don't have that, it doesn't matter what your curriculum is, you're not going to be able to teach it. Mara is saying, there's also a question whether the people who are in the roles at the Department of Education that are in charge of this are really motivated to do the hard work. I've been a staff person and I've been a board member in a number of organizations, and I know from both sides of that the board members are not always told what the staff really knows to be true. The staff always wants to paint a pretty picture and cover their own okole when they're talking to the board. And the board has their own preoccupations, so they have to live with staff, so they're not really motivated to cross-examine them and press them. And that's where the role of public testimony comes in, because we've got to hold the board's feet to the fire so that the board will hold the department's feet to the fire. And not enough of that is happening.
Well, you got a superintendent whose first one of his first official executive moves was to hire 2 assistants, 2 deputies at a very high cost, over $500,000 when you count benefits and salary. The other problem is no one's talking about it. The media is not talking about it. No one's, we have pretty much written COVID off, except for the ads for, people to go ahead and get boosted. And I don't honestly have no idea what the numbers are. I'm not sure if your group monitors the numbers of cases coming out of schools. At one point, the DOE was reporting that, and the media was sharing it. No one's talking about it anymore. So it's kind of like sight unseen.
The legislature passed a law requiring the DOE to report that information publicly, and it is on the DOE website. I have not looked on it. I looked at it lately. But I don't think that either the media or the political establishment or the board is going to pay attention to this unless and until we have really a groundswell of public outrage. And that's what we're trying to stimulate with this, as well as, presenting people with a practical way that they can help, which is, pick up a Corsi Rosenthal box kit from us, go home, assemble it, and bring it to your child's classroom. I mean, I think we need to be prepared to be that grassroots about it, because we're not going to get action out of the people at the top unless we basically shame them into it. And that's a sad thing to have to say, but and it's painful because the anti-maskers, the parents who really wanted to get rid of the school mask mandate, showed up at the board, at a couple of board meetings, and behaved like barbarians, really, shouting and refusing to relinquish the mic when their time was up and that kind of thing. And they're so loud and so obnoxious that they make it seem like there are more of them than there actually are. I think the majority of parents of children in public schools do care about trying to make sure that their children don't catch COVID in the school. And if they were more aware of the issue, they would want the schools to be doing more about it. But we are not inclined to be loud and obnoxious and try to intimidate people. We want to help. We want to give good advice. We want to tell the board what the facts are, and we want to help help the schools by actually physically giving them Corsi Rosenthal boxes. I see a question from Sharon: how much are the kits? What we're hoping to do is raise enough money and get enough materials donated that we can give them away. And that all people would have to do would be to assemble them. And we don't yet know what the cost per kit is going to be, but we're going to attempt to be in a position to give them away rather than have people pay for them. And of course, we'll probably do some sort of GoFundMe at some point or some fundraising. And we're also going to be looking for donations of either in-kind donations of materials or donations of time and money from community groups, charitable groups, the Kiwanis, the Rotary Club. There, even the parent-teacher organizations. There's a lot of I think goodwill out there for this issue that we can tap into to make this happen. But people have to be made aware of it. And I really, really appreciate, Mel, you're giving me a chance to use your platform to help publicize this, because it's really important.
Yeah, Dr. Lee Altenberg was on a few weeks back, and he shared he made his own box. He made his own Corsi Rosenthal box, and he said it was about $50 to put it together.
Yeah.
With duct tape, a fan, and the filters. He actually showed it on the show, and you guys have been so professional. I think you guys have done this the right way, approaching the right people. It's just a shame, and I wish that I understand. I respect those parents that believe that they should have the freedom. I'm not going to get in their way, but I think it's the obligation of the Department of Education, of the state, that They should have had the classrooms prepared. They should have had the classrooms properly ventilated before lifting the mask mandate. They had a lot of time. Now, I mean, this whole thing, this didn't happen overnight. It's not like we. I mean, it was a long period, and there are many companies out there that have air exchange units that can do what we need done by simply plugging in a unit. And the DOE and the state just didn't pursue it. They didn't pursue it, and I don't think the governor was prepared to lift the mask mandate until that was done. But the pressure, the political pressure, and all of that other, the intimidation, he forced him to change his mind, and I thought that was a poor decision. But again, I think it was a bigger disappointment that they didn't prepare the classrooms prior.
Yeah.
And when I mean prior, not the last mask removal of the mask mandate. I'm talking last year.
Yeah.
When school was out, that was the opportunity to go in and do the changes in the classrooms, and that's what they got an F. They failed. They got an F.
There is a problem in that apparently a lot of the older schools don't have enough electrical outlets in classrooms. And now, of course, the kids are all using devices, and it's putting a load that the school isn't equipped, the whole school electrical system isn't equipped to handle that load. But, those are problems that the DOE's kuleana is to solve, not to ignore. And
that's my point. When they found out that the tracks for the rail was wrong, they didn't have a problem doing a change order. When they found out that the cracks in the pillars and they just dropped $500 million on a contractor. And I know it's not a state, it's a county project, but the state that project is relying on state funds through the GET. So I don't buy this. We don't have enough electrical outlets, or the power burden is going to be too great. Well, then bring it up to speed.
Yeah.
Bring it up to speed, and it's all we hear. Yeah. I mean, hello. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. That's the problem I have, is because I just tired of hearing about excuses. I'm going to go back to the school buses because I see my friend Judy's still on. I called the DOE. I called the Department of Transportation, the school bus coordinator for the state. There's no answers. I'm sorry. Apologies. That's all I get. I'm sorry. We just don't have the staff. I'm going to tell a real quick story, real quick. And I know we're running out of time, but I forgot this. My daughter was 9 years old. She was at Wilcox Elementary School. And I think it was my son who just sent me. There was a newspaper article that was done on this. So my daughter comes home and tells me, Dad, 9 years old now, the bathrooms at Wilcox School doesn't have doors. So if they're sitting on the toilet, any person that walks in can see you doing your business on the toilet. And I told my daughter, well, why don't you write a letter to the governor? And the governor was Linda Lingle at the time. And I said, just write a letter. Let the governor know that if in fact it's a problem, which I was shocked when I went to the Wilcox School and I went and looked into the bathroom. I went in the boys' side, and sure enough, there was no doors. They're just wide open, like crazy. So my daughter wrote a letter to the governor. Well, I sent it to the governor. I sent it to the legislature. I sent it to everyone, and then I got a call from the governor's executive person and asking me why. Because I forgot. I also did one more thing. I sent a letter to the media. And the media picked up on it right away. Wrote a story in the Honolulu Star Advertiser. So the governor's person calls me up, who I knew, and he says, "Mel, why you guys go do this? Put him in a PIPA." I said, "My daughter did it, not me. I told her to write a letter. She wrote the letter. I didn't write the letter. She wrote it all by herself." Well, the newspaper printed it. It went crazy. It went viral. They never had social media back then, but everybody was talking about it. And the guy tells me that there's just no funding. So I said, Bob, his name was Bob. He's no longer with us. But if the governor's bathroom didn't have a door, and whenever she went I'm not going to repeat what I told him. And everyone walking past could see her sitting on the toilet. Would there be an issue with budgeting to get a door put up? I said, this is the deal. If you guys not going to put the door, I just going to call a Rotary Club and we're going in and we're going to put some plywood doors. We're going to just drill right into that thing. We're going to put doors. I would not let my daughter go back to school unless the doors are in a bathroom. Well, they did it. My point is the excuses don't work. And it goes to what you were saying about the community has to come together. The community has to put the pressure. And I don't like to shame people either. But if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. Yeah. I'm sorry.
If we're out of time, but if you don't mind going over a bit, there's another DOE horror story that it's Maui specific, but they're building a new high school for the South Maui area, and we have one highway that goes down. Comes from Central Maui and goes down South Maui, past Kihei, past Wailea, down to Makena. And they decided and everything in Kihei pretty much, all the housing and everything is Makai of the highway. Well, they decided to build the high school Mauka of the highway. And they were told by the State Land Use Commission when they had to have a zoning change of the land in order to do that they had to provide a grade separated crossing so that the kids could get from home to school without crossing the highway. Go over it, go under it, whatever, but don't make them cross. Well, so what are they? That was like over 10 years ago. The school is almost getting ready to open. They still have not built any way for the kids to get to the school without crossing the highway. And they've just tried, all they've done is try to get out of that requirement and try to get out of it and try to get out of it. So yeah, we got a bit of a community upraising down here in South Maui about that too.
Well, again, I go back to what I've been saying now for months, folks. It's in our hands, right? At the ballot box. I mean, it's in our hands. 40% voter turnout ain't going to change anything, folks. I mean, we got to get out there. We got to vote for the people that, I hate repeating myself, but if you don't believe that your representatives at the state level, wherever, have represented you well, and you're not seeing the improvements, and you haven't seen any productive changes, then change the people that are making the decisions. That's kind of how it works. So,
right,
the timing is right. We got time. We got time to check out your representatives and figure out, are they working for you or not? If they're not working for you, find someone else.
Well, and I'm also a great believer in organizing to get people directly involved in this kind of thing. We can't, our elected representatives are not going to always be able to do everything. So sometimes we just have to take the matter into our own hands and get stuff done. And that's what we're trying to do with the Corsi Rosenthal boxes. So.
All right, Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can close it out. Remind everyone how they can get in touch with you, how they can join your group, how they can stay updated in the good things that you folks are doing.
I will try to post a copy of this PowerPoint, and I'll post a link to it on the public Hale Hawaii Facebook page. We do most of our organizing on Facebook, and I know that there are an awful lot of people out there who are not on Facebook, and I do understand that. There just doesn't seem to be a substitute for that. But if you want to stay on top of what's happening with this, just follow the Hale Hawaii public Facebook page, and I'll post links on there to everything that we're doing, and and ways to get in touch with us and ways to get involved, because we definitely would love to have more people helping with this effort. We're going to need a fair number of people on every island to make sure that we can get this done and really make substantial progress. So that's it. I really appreciate everyone who's listening and all the questions and comments. And I look forward to meeting some new folks who want to help with this effort.
Well, again, thank you for joining us tonight and sharing, and appreciate what you guys are doing. And I know how it is. It does take a village. Ironically, that's what we have called this place, the village, because that's what it's going to take. And
yep.
I see Kara Flores, another amazing Wonder Woman that's doing what she can to make life better for all. So we really appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work. And folks, go check it out. Holly Hawaii Facebook page. If you need more info, shoot me a private message. I'll get the info that you need.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys as always. Thank you all. Wednesday night, Fern Holland, guys, here at 7 o'clock. We appreciate you. We love you guys. God bless. Take care. Stay safe.